The top-level peace talks between US and Iran entered second day in the Pakistan's capital as Washington piled pressure by saying that it had sent mine-sweeping ships through the vital Strait of Hormuz. In fact, the White House also said that the talks, already reaching 15 hours, extended well beyond midnight. Negotiators met away from public view in a suite of a luxury hotel. Iranian media said that the two sides would take a pre-dawn break of several hours and accuse the United States of making excessive demands on the Strait of Hormuz. According to AFP, that cited a Pakistani source, suggested talks were progressive in the right direction without elaborating further. In a break with precedent, Iranian and US officials were meeting directly alongside Pakistan and not speaking through mediators who shuttled between rooms. President Donald Trump said that deep negotiations were underway. The US president contended that he did not care about the outcome, while insisting that Washington had already triumphed on the battlefield by killing Iranian leaders and even destroying key military infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of reports. They've been meeting for many hours, as you probably have noticed. We'll see what happens. Look, regardless, we win. Regardless what happens, we win. We've totally defeated that country. And so let's see what happens. Maybe they make a deal, maybe they don't. From the standpoint of America, we win. One of the things that's happening is that boats are sailing up and heading out to our country. Big, beautiful tankers, and we're loading them up with oil and gas and everything else. And it's a pretty beautiful thing to see.
On Saturday, Vice President J.D. Vance became the highest-ranking American to meet directly with Iranian officials since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, which comes days after United States and Israel halted their war that had plunged West Asia and global economy into turmoil. J.D. Vance was joined by Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, as Iran had sought the presence of U.S. Vice President due to his reported initial opposition to the war. The 70-strong Iranian delegation was led by Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, the powerful Speaker of Parliament, and even included Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Parallelly, the U.S. military said that two Navy warships transited through the Strait of Hormuz to begin the process of clearing mines and ensure that it is a safe pathway for tankers. However, the Iranian military denied that any American warships had entered the waterway and even threatened to respond if they do so. With a fragile ceasefire in place, Trump said that his military was starting the process of clearing the Strait of Hormuz for shipping to begin. And joining us on the phone line is our correspondent Susan Teherani. Susan, fast-paced developments, of course. Quickly run us through the latest developments that we have been able to track over the last few hours.
So as we're talking right now, it appears that those negotiations that lasted over 15 hours have concluded for now. There's going to be a short pause, and then there is going to be more marathon talks between these high-level officials from the United States, Iran, and Pakistan. It was about 5 a.m., past 5 a.m. local time on Sunday that Pakistan allegedly suggested that they take a break. Both sides agreed. But really, as these talks continue, there are still many sticking points. Some believe that it was good that they talked for so many hours. Others are saying that still the control of the Strait of Hormuz, the economic vital waterway really that Iran has closed so far, remains a sticking point. And of course, other issues as well. Throughout these hours, we got very little information about what was happening in the room. However, we did hear from the president himself saying that he has updates about the talks. He did not say whether they're going well or not. He made some comments, but nonetheless, he said that he's following them very closely. So there is little we can report from the room, but throughout the day in the past 12 hours as these negotiations were taking place, President Trump said on Truth Social that, first of all, there are empty ships now coming towards the U.S. for oil. And then he also claimed that the United States CENTCOM has gone to the Strait of Hormuz warships to try to get rid of the mines that Iran had planted in the Strait of Hormuz. There was a New York Times report that claimed that even if the intention was there for Iran to reopen that passageway, which we don't know if it's true or not, it had trouble doing so because it didn't know exactly where those mines were located, and it was a danger. Now CENTCOM says that it is working actively, and it went there to try to get rid of these mines to open that waterway. So a lot of developments regarding the Strait of Hormuz, but what the outcome will be, again, is a big question mark as we speak right now.
Yes. Susan, we will come back to you again to get us more details, but let's also go across to John Erith. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. He's a Senior Policy Director for the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. Mr. Erith, U.S.-Iran set to resume talks later today after marathon 15-hour talks. First up, your assessment of the developments and, in your view, the major sticking points in these talks so far.
Well, as Susan said, we do not have very much information about what is going on inside the room. The fact that they met for 15 hours and agreed to come back and meet again on Sunday is, in my mind, a positive development. It shows that there is something to discuss. So we don't know exactly what the sticking issues are. It's likely that the Strait of Hormuz and what assurances will be provided that maritime traffic will be able to transit the strait. That very likely could be one of the more difficult issues. But at this point, we don't know. It's standard diplomatic practice to keep quiet about ongoing negotiations until everything is agreed. So the fact that we're not hearing anything is, in a way, a positive sign that there is still some things that are discussed and that there is still progress being made.
Yes, Mr. Erith, that being said, Iranian media already reporting that Strait of Hormuz is one of the main sticking points, the pressure points, so as to say. But talking about the U.S. warships, they reportedly passed through Strait of Hormuz for the first time since U.S.-Iran war. In fact, the IRGC now says that they will deal severely with military ships that transit through the Strait of Hormuz. How do you view the escalation being seen with respect to the Strait of Hormuz and the reported transiting of the U.S. warships through the Strait of Hormuz?
I have not seen any confirmation that the U.S. warships are in the strait or not in the strait. So they very well could be. I would take the Iranian statements as a standard diplomatic tactic to try to strengthen their negotiating position by taking a hard line. It's in their interest to be as difficult as possible because this is a point where they have real leverage. The opening and closing of the strait. So the degree to which they're able to assert that the strait remains closed increases their leverage in the ongoing negotiation.
Yes, and Mr. Erith, that being said, if one were to assume that U.S. military warship did pass through the Strait of Hormuz, how challenging, in your view, would be locating of those sea mines that have been put along the way?
It depends on what kind of ships that are in the strait now. There are specialized ships that carry helicopters that are set with that mission in mind, clearing the naval mines that are in sea lanes. So it's possible that if these ships are there, if that's the kind of ship that is actually in the strait, they could do their job and have the mines cleared out.
Also, some of the statements that have been coming in from President Trump over the last few years, beg your pardon, over the last few hours, he's warned China amid reports suggesting that it is preparing to ship arms to Tehran. Where does this put U.S.-China ties? That is, if China is working or possibly has already supplied those arms to Tehran.
President Trump was scheduled to visit China last month. This was postponed given the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and the need for the president to pay attention to this urgent issue. I believe that the visit has been rescheduled for the coming weeks. So he's going to want to clear away whatever problems there are with China in the meantime. He wants a successful visit for business reasons. U.S. and China are major trade partners, and he wants to clear away other issues that could get in the way of a productive trade relationship.
All right, Mr. Erez, just last question before we let you go. We have statements coming in from the Israeli Prime Minister as well. He says that Israel is seeking real peace agreement that will last for generations with Lebanon, and this comes at a time when the death toll has already crossed the 2,000 mark as far as those Israeli strikes on Lebanon are concerned. Your thoughts on that statement coming in from Netanyahu?
I have not seen the statement that Prime Minister Netanyahu made, so it's difficult to comment on it. Certainly, a peaceful settlement to the issues that are present in South Lebanon would be in the interests of all parties. So I would hope that they would be able to take a constructive path toward reaching such a settlement.
Mr. Erez, well, that's a statement that's been made by the Israeli minister, who says that he would want a lasting agreement with Lebanon. But appreciate you for joining us on the broadcast. For now, the talks are set to resume later in the day, the talks that are happening in Islamabad.
Thank you very much.